Did you know that Joe grew up on a farm milking cows?
I learned work ethic early on. I think, honestly, that's one of the things that you and I probably bonded on early in our careers. Is we looked at each other and we saw, like, okay, here's somebody who's going to grind, complain about it, and they just love to do the work. It really benefits a firm if you can take whatever you're using in your marketing strategy and find a way to funnel that back inward towards your own team so they can be your biggest brand advocates with helping grow the business, but it also creates this social glue and buy-in that a lot of firms I see right now don't have.
So we get to be here face to face and folks say, Hi everyone, and welcome to the Don't Do That podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Waltrich, and today we brought you home with us. We are at Intentionally HQ here in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, and I have with me and next to me my partner and friend, none other than Joe Steuter. Welcome, Joe.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be around the team here in Philadelphia.
What's up?
What's up?
I know. Guys, this friendship has been 20 years in the making. Joe and I grew up together he was, of course, alongside Ron Carson, and I was with Edmund Walters, and we were young and dumb and trying to figure out what we were doing, and we became friends because you need people who are trying to figure it out at the same time. And so it's been a lot of years, right?
It has been a lot of years, yeah.
I tried to steal him from Ron. Sorry, Ron, about 12 times through that time period. Knowing that this day would always come and we would end up together, and I'm so excited that we are.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. Yeah, it's amazing how much something starts as just a simple friendship many, many years ago, and all of a sudden, I remind myself of that every day, where we kind of look at each other and we're like, we're in this together now, like every single day.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah.
I always tell myself, actually, and I think I've said it on social media a couple of times, that the best thing about being an entrepreneur, because it is really hard, is getting to choose the people that you put around you. So, it's a perfect example of that. Okay, Joe. So I want, for those listeners that don't know you, for you to give a little bit of your background, your belief in communication, because at your core, I believe that you feel more strongly about that than anything.
Yeah.
And give us a little bit about what it's been like to join Intentionally and start helping our clients and get thrown into the mix here.
Yeah. So it all starts where, I got my start in the industry many, many years ago. Again, working for a fast-growing firm backed by a founder with Carson, who had a huge vision for the future, which was a really fun thing to be a part of. But what I recognized right out of the gate was this whole idea that so many people have a clear vision, they just don't take the time to communicate or articulate that on a daily basis with their team, with their clients, with their prospects. And so something that I found just with my own background, I come from the school of communication where the message is the message boils down to exactly what you need to say to the right group of people at the right time. And it's becoming a lot more of an art than a science. A big part of what Kelly and I spent so much of our early careers on was figuring out how to tell that story with the companies that we were at. And the better we were able to articulate that differentiated position in the marketplace and how we were able to take that to the executive teams, how we were able to take that to the entire organizations, only put those organizations in a better place to win in the future. So a huge part of my evolution over the last 20 years around this industry and as a marketer, as a communicator, has really been about the power of words. And oftentimes, that may sound romantic, but there's just a lot of essence that can come from practicing this art of what it means to communicate with intention. And that was one of the things that drew me over here is, for so many years, Kelly and I had worked together separately. On doing this, had worked together separately. We were bouncing ideas off of each other. We were constantly brainstorming new things to infuse into the businesses we were helping lead. And it got to a point where we kind of said together, like, hey, I remember looking at just even how she named the company intentionally, and intention has been always one of my favorite words because it means so much to me as a writer, as a communicator, and it really was baked into the mission of everything that you had built here. So the name made a lot of sense to me. It aligned with me. I already knew I could enjoy working with somebody who was right alongside me through this journey called life each and every day. And so the universe aligned and allowed us to kind of find this window of opportunity to put both of our minds together. And I think we complement each other pretty well.
Yeah, I'm the crazy one. He's the calm one, for those of you who couldn't figure that out yourself. All right, Joe. So he's also very modest. And I think one of the most important things that you need to know is, and during his time at Carson, they went from what to what? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, we had a single office in Omaha, Nebraska, probably around $800 million as an RIA, operating out of one office, and grew that entire organization to, more than 200, 300 advisors across the country with 150 to 175 locations, $42 billion in assets under management. And so every 2 years, I would say like every 18 to 24 months, that business looked completely different than it did 18 months prior. And it required something different from me. That sort of heavy growth. I know you share this with just your time at eMoney and Orion, but it humbles you when you have to
keep figuring it out over and over again.
Yeah. When you have to grow alongside a company, you have to, as the company is reinventing itself, you have to do the same as a marketing leader.
That's so true. And I think, guys, and intentionally, and this episode is not meant to be a plug for this business by any means. And, I try not to do that, but I will say that if you want advice from me, I brought people to intentionally to work at intentionally that know what good looks like, that know what growth looks like. So I encourage you, as you're choosing your partners, whether it's marketing or otherwise, make sure that the people that you're working with every day have been there, done that, have worked in organizations who have seen success, who have gone from 20 million to 100 million on a tech platform, or from 800 million to 42 billion at an RIA, because that experience, there's nothing like that. And to be able to see that over the course of years is so important in our job in helping all of Intentionally's clients be able to aspire to the same kind of growth. So I think that, I'm not the one giving advice on this show. My guests are, but I think you need to ask the right questions, right, of your partners all the time. Because I always just say to people, okay, who are we up against? And have you seen them do it? Have they done it before? Can they prove it? Can they tell you what worked and what didn't? And I think that's really important in your growth journeys as well.
Very true.
All right, Joe. So we serve a lot of clients, a diverse set
of clients.
It's a wild ride every day. Yeah. We buckle up every morning when we come into the office, him in Omaha, me in Philly, and we never know what we're going to get hit with. And we know that growth is so personal to all of you. It's so personal to our clients. It's so important to your businesses. We get it, that we sit at a really pivotal spot in each of your worlds if you work with us. So tell me, let's talk a little bit about what that looks like in firms, and what are you seeing? What are you seeing firms I don't want to say struggle with, but what's our wish list for firms that we work with? What do we want them to realize? What do we want them to get out of their own way sometimes to come to?
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, I learned this in my own experience, but we learned this from seeing so many. I mean, we're working with dozens of firms, from fintechs to large RIAs to smaller practices. And oftentimes what we find out is they almost grow in spite of themselves at times. And sometimes that's because of what some of those dynamics within the organization that keep them from living into that full potential. Other times they have some outside factors coming into play that prevent them from really making a mark on the market in a way that they'd like. And so we're coming into these conversations every single week. We're talking to our clients, and they're bringing something to us. Usually it's a need or a challenge they need to solve, or they're feeling stuck somewhere, and they need our help to make sense of how they're going to leverage marketing strategy in order to grow the business. This is all about growth. You've always been a staunch advocate about what does all of this activity mean? Where's the ROI coming from all of this effort? Everybody thinks they can do marketing.
Yeah.
And so you have a lot of opinions that enter into the conversation when you engage with a client, and you get to know them as people, you get to know them as business owners, you get to know them as a team. And I think what gets a lot of firms stuck oftentimes is, one, they don't always have a clear vision for what they're trying to solve, which is a little ironic because they're coming to us with a feeling that they know they need help, but they don't always know how to articulate that into how they want to work with us and how we can serve them best. We usually are able to diagnose this ourselves just through the first initial conversations we have with these clients. We can unearth some of this, whether it's helping them define who they need to target, helping them define where there's opportunity in the marketplace, or if they need help with understanding just clarity and roles. I mean, that's something we find quite a bit when we're talking about marketing. Marketing leads to growth. Growth leads to, well, how is this good for the business? Where are we taking this as far as a future vision for the firm? And so even though our role as marketers is to come in and help them with marketing strategy, we often play this role of being a strategic guide to help them make sense of their own business and where they see opportunity in the future.
Guys, he is so right. And it's funny because I want to ask you the question, if you don't know what you're working towards, how do you want your partners to know what you're working towards? I start a lot of conversations, or every conversation. Tina sits next to me all day. She's here today. She hears me say, like, all right, what are we working towards? Like, what are our goals? What are you giving us to aim for? And it's really, to Joe's point, kind of shocking that a lot of firms haven't done the work to figure that out. And we actually, and intentionally, I would say, as you've seen us evolve over the course of the last couple of years, went from very much like a marketing agency to a strategic growth partner for that reason, because we realized that so many firms really need a roadmap to what they even need from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of firms out there who just need that ignition up front. They need somebody with energy to come into their situation, look at things from a new perspective. Perspective is kind of my word as well. And it's one of these things where if you're partnered with the right firm who's coming in and focused on your success, your growth, and figuring those things out on your behalf, you have to, we talk about this all the time. The other side of this is you have to see a partner, whether it's marketing, whether it's operational efficiency, whether it's figuring out a tech vendor, whether it's figuring out a new tool or software you're going to infuse in the business. You have to see that partner as an advocate for your success rather than an obstacle to your success. And sometimes we face that. Sometimes we need to do work with the client. There's a lot of therapy involved. There
is a lot of therapy involved.
In order to get these clients and for us to find the best way to work with them. And what we see as being those keys to, oh, wow, that this client really clicks with us and we have the best results with these clients is when they know their role, they're able to articulate our role in their growth, and then we're all seen as sitting on the same side of the table in order to help get them there. Those just very basic fundamental pieces of understanding often go so far when you're looking at a marketing partner, when you're looking at a partner or a provider in any way, shape, or form for business growth in the long term. You need to trust that the people coming in have your best interests at heart. I mean, advisors spend all day talking about this with clients and convincing them that they sit on the same side of the table as their clients. We're trying to have those same conversations with advisors and CEOs around the country where we say, let us sit on the same side of the table. We have your best interests at heart, and we plan to initiate a plan. We want to put a strategy in play with the right people in play that we think will give you the best opportunity to win.
Okay, so did you know that Joe grew up on a farm milking cows? I bet you didn't, Joe.
It was a lifetime. Yeah. Yeah.
If you thought this episode was going to be a straight line, you were wrong.
Yeah.
Joe, tell us how that experience helped you in financial services.
Yeah. So I grew up on a dairy farm in the Midwest, about an hour northwest of Omaha, Nebraska. And I'd say the biggest thing I'm from a huge family. I learned work ethic early on. I think, honestly, that's one of the things that you and I probably bonded on early in our careers is we looked at each other and we saw like, okay, here's somebody who's going to grind.
Yeah.
Complain about it, and they just love to do the work. There aren't a lot of people, whether it's this industry or any industry, who have that sort of grit mindset and commitment to their craft. And so I think that's what makes us such a powerful team. But it's also, I think, something I learned from a very young age. I learned resilience at a very young age. I was throwing on a farm. You walk out there every day, whether it's milking cows or fixing a fence or moving hogs from one barn to the other or figuring out exactly how you're going to, get the tractor fixed by 6 a.m. in order to feed cattle. There are always bumps in the road. There are always things thrown in front of you, and you have to figure out a way to solve those challenges and be resourceful. So resilience and resourcefulness are two huge things that I learned from growing up on the farm that I apply and I bring to our relationships every day. And it's because of almost getting hardened at that young age where I had the confidence and really just the resilience to say, whatever problem you throw at me, it's workoutable, right? It's solvable. There's a way to do this, but that took a lot of my childhood to figure that out, because oftentimes I always just wanted to lay down in defeat if something threw a wrench in my day, and I just said, it's so easy to get distracted and disheartened by a problem showing up in your life or a complication showing up. And what growing up on the farm taught me was that this is all about how you respond to that adversity rather than, it's one thing to acknowledge it. It's a whole other thing to acknowledge it and then say, I have everything at my disposal, including in my mind, in order to figure out how to tackle this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's great. This is like giving you a little bit of a glimpse into our world, but I typed to Joe the other day. I think we had a client and they weren't happy about something, which is rare, I should talk about, but it does happen, believe it or not. They weren't happy about something, and I sent a note to Joe and I said, listen, I know that we are not used to running into situations where people are unhappy. Like, we got after it in our careers, we were tough and we were moving through things and we were helping, and like these situations are not new, but because obviously marketing and communications is hard and we're always, dodging bullets, but we are used to like defending the work.
Very much so.
So we find it intentionally sometimes. It's a lot of education, right? Around, one scenario was, hey, this lead generation didn't work. And to me, I look at it and I say, okay, well, tell me what not working means to you, because I see that your website traffic went up by 600% and your intake forms went up by 350% and your contact us's went up by, I think you got 57 in the last month. And this happened and this happened and this happened and this. So help me understand why you don't feel like this is working. And I have an attitude about it. So Joe is the calm one of the two of us that then gets on the phone with the client and says, hey, let's work this out. And I think as you guys are navigating entrepreneurship and growing your businesses, and I think, one of the keys to our stability and success, maybe, who knows, we're only 4 years in, success is a funny word, but is finding people that compliment you, right?
Very much so, yeah. Yeah, and I think you compliment me in many ways where I'm oftentimes trying to figure out how to find a solution, or I'm trying to work around a client in terms of how they're approaching us with an issue or how they're approaching us with an opportunity that falls into their lap and they need to know how to maximize it. You have this ability to kind of see right through all of the fluff, identify the issue, and say, this is how we come to the table to solve that. And something I learned from you every day. And it's something that I think we do really well as an organization. We have an incredible team here that understand what it means to communicate well. This is why I think communication is so important in the industry, is simply because if you can identify these things and get everyone aligned on why they're at the table to solve whatever it is we're trying to solve, you automatically have so much more of a better chance to succeed because everyone understands their role. You understand exactly what the end game is and how we're going to work backwards from that end game.
Yes. Okay, so here's another funny little story. So when I worked for Orion, what's up, everybody from Orion? I love you. I miss you. There were no direct flights there. So I would spend half my life on a plane trying to get to Omaha. And I now have all these people from Omaha that work it intentionally. And I took great joy in that until they immediately gave Omaha multiple direct flights to Philadelphia so that they no longer have to feel the pain that I felt in doing that. So we try to get Joe here to Philly as much as possible. So all you Philly folks, he is here all the time. So hit him up for breakfast, lunch, drinks. Come see us at the office. Okay, Joe. So my next question to you is this. We are living in what we all call the sea of sameness, right? And as someone who loves the message, who feels like that is the foundation of all things in each of the businesses of the people who are watching the show and listening, what the hell? Am I allowed to say that? What the hell do people do to cut through that? Because it is so, so, so hard. Yeah. And I love to tell people that everybody know, whether it's a custodian, a fintech, an asset manager, or an RIA, they say, we help you grow, we help you scale, and we help you become more efficient. And guess what, guys? You don't all do that. Yeah. And you can't all do that. And if you do, you need to come up with a better way to say it. So how do we help everyone listening take your message, voodooism, and apply it to their business?
It is a little bit of voodoo. So we so quickly forget, even though we have these conversations every day, and I have to remind myself of this all the time, that it always starts with who you're trying to attract every day. Who are you trying to work with? How are you trying to build a business? Yes, you need to have a clear vision for what you're trying to build and what you want to put into the world. You have to know who you're best fit for. And any time we face the sea of sameness and messaging, and we do this, you say that from the fintech side of things, from the advisor side, all advisors are saying they're building trust, they're looking out for the best interest of their client.
Holistic planning.
Yep, they have a proven process to deliver. They're all about the plan, and so we're hearing this dozens of times a day, and we're jumping into these businesses. They feel like what they're saying has been said for the first time. We have to have a delicate conversation about, all right, let's dig in a little bit more and figure out truly what separates you, because there are firms out there saying the same thing. And so oftentimes this boils down to having a great understanding of who it is you're trying to get in front of, but understanding their need. So this all comes back to something I talk about in our Message Matters episodes all the time. But if you don't have an intimate understanding of what that person you're trying to attract is facing in their life, or is there a turning point that they're facing? What emotions are they feeling? How do you identify what those emotions are? And then weave that into what it is you deliver, because what advisors do, what fintechs do, in often cases, it all does sound the same. And so it's how you deliver those things that oftentimes differentiates you. But first, you have to understand that ideal client down to the T of feeling like you have lived there before. This is why I think a lot of the founder-based businesses out there for advisor firms do so well, because they come from these stories in their own personal life. They are able to connect with whatever it is, the 8-year-old kid inside of them that said, oh, wow, either my parents or my family faced this, or I faced some sort of event or adversity when I was growing up or becoming an adult that forever shaped the way I saw the world. And some of it had to do with money or finances or a lack of planning, from somebody in their family or their friends. And that impacted, and it had a ripple effect across a community, across a family. And so what you start to think through is, well, the reason you have been so successful to this point is because it's not because you're offering anything different on that menu of services that every other advisor down the street says the same thing to that audience about, but it's more about how you connect your own personal story and you make yourself feel understood from a client perspective. So they are able to level with you as a person before they can even talk to you about what it is you do, how you're going to do it, what does your process look like, what does the experience look like for that client. If you can't establish and know exactly who you're made for as a business and what you're trying to solve as an issue, then you really don't have much to stand on. And that is where you see a lot of these shallow messages out there that all sound the same. The sea of sameness happened, I think, because there is so much opportunity. You and I both know that, like in wealth management, the amount of assets out there switching hands over the next few generations is creating almost too much fish in a barrel opportunities for advisors. And because of that, they've experienced a ton of success without really having to do a whole lot from a marketing and positioning standpoint. And now we're starting to see that people, they make these decisions a little bit more intentionally. They start to look at multiple options in their life, and they start to say, all right, let me weigh one firm versus another. What does this look like? Who am I working with? How much does it cost? What are they charging me? Is this experience different and more convenient than the one down the street? And as you get into this, it always comes back to, well, if you understand your client to that nth degree, you're going to know exactly how to speak to them in that moment of need and appeal to them over every other option that sounds the same.
Yep, I totally agree. And, I just did a podcast, probably the last one that came out, guys, with Mark Foreman, the CMO of Optifino. And his don't do that was don't forget your audience. And it sounds so simple, right? Like these things sound so simple and so basic, and you're probably rolling your eyes. But I can't tell you how many firms come to us and they say, how are you going to make me sound different? And I want to be like, what are you going to tell me that's different? What are you going to tell me about yourself and your firm and the way you do business and the way you think about your clients and the way you provide services and the way that you create an experience is different? Like, because it's not about me. It's not about us. We're good storytellers, and we're going to take what you give us and we're going to turn it into magic. I can promise you that. But it starts with you knowing.
Yeah, we're a mirror.
Who you are. So every time somebody says, how are you going to make me sound different? I want to be like, come on.
Yeah.
No, how are you different? You tell me. It has to start there. It's the same thing with the planning. Like we said earlier, every time somebody says, I need you to tell me what my goals are. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll certainly tell you what your goals are if you want me to, but I don't think that's the best path forward here.
Right.
You and your team have to come together and decide that. So just some things to think about, especially in terms of messaging. And like I said, this is what Joe thinks about all day, every day.
And if you don't have someone prompting you and extracting this from you, you're not working with the right partner either. If they don't have some level of drive and interest in understanding your business, and they come straight to you with a proven formula that works for everybody else, and oftentimes that's what we see a lot of our clients want. They come straight into these relationships and they want that proven, you guys know what you're doing, you do it for enough firms around the country. Just tell us, so we can get to the answer quickly, and then let's start pumping out that formula. Yes, it is a math equation. When you get down to understanding what those components of that equation are. And the reality is those components of that equation are a little different for every single firm based on what we were just talking about around core audience, understanding the need, who are you best fit for. And if you have somebody coming to you with that promise of a quick, easy solution, just be careful. I always say don't confuse speed with success. Because especially, and we're a really AI-driven firm, we're constantly pushing the boundary of how we can be more efficient, better output, better quality, better personalization at scale. There's still this huge need for you to understand that somebody who comes to you with a quick, fast, and easy solution isn't always going to be the best fit for you, because they're not actually understanding your business at the level you need them to be a solid, trusted partner.
And I appreciate that about Joe, because I will tell you, the other day I was like, why is this client's brand not done? What is happening here that it is taking them so long? And he's like, Kel, some people need to work through it and need to take time, and this is a process. And I'm like, okay, Joe. But
and I pick up some of that. Yep, I pick up some of that. I'm like, all right, we've got to nudge a little bit here. We got to pick up the pace.
Yeah.
We can't, because there is very much paralysis by analysis, where a lot of these firms get really overwhelmed. And I'm sure all of you can relate to this. You've all been faced with that challenge or that stuck moment. And you're looking at 7 other people in your organization. You're trying to figure out how to get everybody on the same page so that you can find a path forward. But oftentimes, it's very hard to swim through those waters and understand how you're going to take those next steps. And then that leads to paralysis. And we see this happen in organizations all the time, where not weeks or days, but months can go by without any real progress or activity, simply because the organization has those obstacles that they need to figure out as far as alignment and clear communication go. And then you need to, another point we would love to bring up all the time is, this is an iterative process. It's a living, breathing thing. Your brand is not a painting you set on the wall and you admire it for the next 5 years. Look at what's been done, because a lot of our clients think if they mess it up on the first try, they've blown their shot.
Yeah.
In some cases, that's true. Most cases, it's not. We live in a world right now where things change by the minute, not the month. And so we have to get to a place where you feel comfortable with experimentation, with iteration, with changing things as they go. And the firms that adopt that fluid mentality are the ones that typically do the best over time, because they're just not afraid to fail.
Yeah, they're constantly learning. And you know what? I'm not the most patient person, but I am more patient with the process than maybe I was before, because having gone it through intentionally, and it being mine, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So our messaging is constantly evolving. Our brand is always, you probably don't see the nuances of our brand, but we're always tweaking it and changing it. And we're always rethinking, like, what does the next iteration of intentionally look like? What does the next iteration of our services look like? So I am more patient about it, because when it's personal to you, it's very real that, like, doing the final sign off is hard. It's a hard thing.
It is. It sometimes takes, and that's that moment of dread for a lot of firms, is they think there is going to be this massive moment of either we make this or we break this.
Yeah.
And yes, that can be true to a point, but you also can't inhibit you from just getting something out there.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes you need that feedback from your audience. You need that feedback from your marketing strategy in order to inform the next steps of your plan. You're not going to be able to spell out a full 12-month, 150-step plan month by month, week by week, and think that everything is going to go according to that plan.
Right.
Because so much changes in our world on a daily basis. And so we've moved to 6-month plans, to where 6 months at a time, if we have a good focus with our clients and we know those main pillars of focus and priorities, we'll start working backwards from those and developing a plan that makes sense, knowing that 3 weeks from now, a lot may change.
Yes. Yeah. All right, Joe. So I brought you up on a prior podcast and got some flack for it, because I remember we were sitting at the beach. We were on our leadership offsite, and we were talking about vision, company vision. Sorry for jumping all around. I got a lot to say. I don't get to do this with him very often. I want to make sure I hit all the things. So this is the way we're doing it. Tina will splice it together in a way that makes sense later. So we're sitting at the beach, offsite, great conversation, and we're talking about company vision. And I know that a lot of you on the phone are using EOS as your operating system. Joe and I have both been through that with our prior firms as well. Intentionally, actually, Randy Lambert and team are building an EOS for our industry. So if you haven't had that conversation with him, it's very cool. But we debate about the length of time you should be able to look into the future. And I'm guessing that you can figure out which one of us is fly by the seat of our pants and which one of us is more thoughtful, but we have come together to be able to find a nice blend of that. But I think the debate was like, Joe coming out of Carson, they had a very solid process for planning for the future. And it was like, what are we working towards in the next year? What are we working towards in 5 years? What are we working towards in 10 years? And I see a lot of firms that do that. EOS asks you to do that, right? You have to pull it out on paper.
Yeah, it's a part of the process.
For me, I plan quarterly. Seriously, because things change so fast. And so I'm curious with all of you and would love your feedback in terms of like, what is the interval for your planning? Because AI has never sped things up more than the past, and it's almost impossible to plan more than that. So let's talk this out. What do you see, else?
Yeah. Well, to your point, it's as slow as it's ever going to be, which is a scary thought to think about sometimes.
That feels very money to me. That's very money. You taught him well.
Well, he taught me well too, but in so many ways, yeah, there has to be this flexibility and openness to change. Otherwise, you will die on the vine within 6 months, not in 6 years. So there is this balance. Yes. Do I think a 5-year plan? I do feel like as an executive team member or as a CEO of a firm, there is this value in pointing out this is where we're going, even if it's not a specific destination.
Yep.
It's a direction.
Fair.
And that's where I think I really thrive off of, if I know, and I kind of told you this after our conversation with that planning meeting, is if I know where we are heading within a certain direction, tell me if we're going north, east, or west, versus, do I think we need to spell out everything in detail, to paint a perfect picture of that future?
Yeah.
That's a little bit of, some of the older thinking that's out there is you need to be able to paint every detail in this picture for you to drive towards it. Now, I feel like the world has changed to a point where we need to be able to embrace some of that uncertainty and see it as an opportunity rather than an obstacle, but also view all of this with some direction. Because I think if a team, and this is where we see opportunity, as much as we're doing marketing for the external world where these firms are trying to bring in new clients, we're also starting to see a lot of firms around the country who say, I need help articulating this internally to my team and working from the inside out. And it's because that team of yours desires at least a direction. They may not need a well-formed destination with a full view of what that future in 5 or 10 years looks like, because, most of us are just trying to get through the week or the month, much less than a year or a decade. But in so many cases, I think it really benefits a firm if you can take whatever you're using in your marketing strategy and find a way to funnel that back inward towards your own team so they can be your biggest brand advocates with helping grow the business. But it also creates this social glue and buy-in that a lot of firms I see right now don't have. You see so many talented people. We get a front row seat to this, where they're jumping firms every 6 to 12 months. And these are talented people who move throughout the industry. And I think there's a huge, one of the big factors here that I think is contributing to that is people are hungry for some sort of meaningful direction that they can be a part of. And if you just give them a swim lane and let them do what they're best at, they can do great things for you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, my next question for you, and then we're going to get into your don't do that, but I feel like I have to hit this. Hiring.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel, but hiring is, it's like a landmine. It's like a bunch of landmines, and it's really hard, and it's never been harder in marketing. It's never been easier to BS your way through an interview. It's never been easier to put your interview questions in ChatGPT and spit out something that sounds good. And I feel like we interview a lot for intentionally.
We do.
And you'd think that would make us great at it. We're still working at that. But I also do a lot of hiring for other companies because we talk to so many marketers and because there's so many, and because I like to be a destination where marketers can feel like they can get help finding a home and firms can feel like they can get help finding a marketer. And all jokes aside, I would say marketing is the hardest role to get right because it's so easy to play pretend.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. It's a hard one to sniff out, the people with real talent because, well, we've talked about this before too, where so many people think they can do it and they're equipped with enough knowledge and maybe some experience to feel dangerous in this area. And the fact is, it is probably the biggest determinant of your firm's success, right? Is the people you're bringing into the fold and saying, you're going to be a large part of our value proposition going forward. And you could with every new hire we look at, we say, how is this person going to impact the trajectory of our firm? Not just, hey, how do we add another body to the equation here in order to get more work done every day? We're looking at experience, we're looking at capabilities. And so it's tough because we've made mistakes in our past,
more than a few.
I've been a manager for so long, more than a decade, where I've been managing people, that I've made my own mistakes with interviewing and made my own mistakes with choosing a person who probably wasn't the best fit for the role, or finding that person has different skill sets and that their role evolves into something you didn't even anticipate even 6 months into the job because you found they're amazing at something else. And so, as far as there's a lot there. I think this is a perfect example of where I think humility comes in, because I don't have a winning formula for how to attract the best talent. I think the best way you can do this whole process of finding the right people who fit into the vision and the mission that you're trying to create as a firm is to have a really interactive, thorough interview process.
With multiple people.
Yeah, multiple people. Yes, there's
coming at it from different angles.
Guidance of questions you can ask, and there's all kinds of clever ways that you can try to extract the right information from people. But what we typically put some of our candidates through is an exercise in resourcefulness and understanding exactly, all right, let us know how you would, if we put a potential scenario in front of you, how might you come up with a marketing strategy using your experience and your skill set to put something in front of a client that makes sense, that they may respond well to, that could also be very effective. But because without that exercise being a part of the interview, you are just going you're going off of someone's word.
Yeah.
And you're making a bet. And a lot of hires are a bet that you make one way or another, because you still only have a fraction of time, even if it's with 4 or 5 people involved in the interview. You're all using your instincts to make a big decision on who you add to your team.
Yeah.
So it's a big decision. And I'd say never has there been more opportunity to
fake it.
Fake it as a candidate, but also from a company standpoint, we have more interest than ever too, coming from multiple different directions.
Yeah.
Talent that's coming out the woodwork and saying, here's where I see a fit in your organization. And so you have to be able to vet all of that opportunity coming in and then have a solid, thorough process in place that allows you to select the best people.
I'll never forget, I hired this guy unintentionally. He's not listening, but if you... No, not intentionally. At Orion. I hired this guy at Orion. He's definitely not listening, but if he is, you know who you are.
Yeah.
He walked into my office one day and he was like, I just don't care about this like all of you care. Yeah. And I was like, get out.
I could see where you would be that direct.
Get out. I just could not believe, one, that I hired this person to begin with, and 2, that he was just like, you guys all care about this a lot. I just don't.
Yeah. That's a great point, though. There are people out there who, want to see their 8 to 5 as just a job where they can clock in, clock out, probably drift by in the meantime until they find their next source of inspiration. And I think a big part of the candidate interview process is figuring out where that drive and motivation comes from with someone.
Yeah.
Because if we're just talking about the role, we're talking about the responsibilities and the duties assigned, there are a lot of people who can bullshit their way through that.
Right.
If you really get to the core of what are you most excited about? What brings you into work every day that you're excited about? What does an ideal day in your life look like when you're doing something that's purposeful to you.
Yeah.
That's where you get into sniffing out this intrinsic motivation that people have to be a part of something bigger.
Yeah. So I'll give you two things just so you walk away with something actionable. I'll give you two things in hiring marketers that I think is super important, and feel free to add to this. The first is, tell me what you have successfully done and give me some metrics around it, like a campaign that you launched, anything that you owned that you can talk about the process from point A to point B and the success that you saw because of it. Because I can sniff out from that the person who's going to be like, listen, I launched a campaign. This was my audience. This was my thought process. This was the creative concept that I came up with. These are the channels that I executed it against. This is the amount of opportunity that it brought to the business, and this is the revenue that it drove from the people who are like, well, I wrote this blog and I put on this event. No. If you are looking for a great marketer, they are going to be able to tell you something that they did successfully. The second thing, and this is really important to the hires that we do it intentionally and the hires that I generally help place in other firms, is can you take someone's goals and their budget and their target and turn it into a solid plan? But more than that, once you have the plan, are you confident in yourself enough that that plan is going to get you to your goals, and can you figure out how to execute it? Because I think that the very best marketers are the ones who build plans that they believe that they can successfully execute against. And those are the people that I look for it intentionally.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we're always looking for, we need that person who understands strategically the environment that they're stepping into and how they're going to provide good advice and be in a position to really add value. But at the same time, they have to have this ability to translate their thoughts and ideas into action. If they can't do that, they are like the other 95% of marketers out there who do bring, and this is why you see a lot of CMOs, the average tenure of a CMO at a company is less than 2 years now.
Oh my God, is it 2? I thought it was a little under.
Yeah.
You're probably right.
Yeah. Closer to 24 months now. And I think it's literally because it's very easy to come into an organization. You and I have both been a part of all kinds of organizations where you've got multiple ideas flowing in, but you can see very quickly where a leader can come in, cast a vision, throw some ideas out, and fill a year and a half or 2 years with trying to execute on what this vision is. And oftentimes they don't have what it takes in order to deliver on what they came in to do. And so they bounce from one place to the next.
Because it takes 2 years to figure out it's all BS. Exactly. And then the firm realizes it and they're out the door.
That's one of my
That's if the marketer isn't good. I think on the flip side, I'm a fierce advocate of marketers. So I think the other piece of it is leaders that don't understand what they should be doing, what they should be held accountable to, how they should be measured, and the resources that they need to be successful. So it's one or the other.
No, that's a good point. There are a lot of firms and a lot of CMOs out there who just need to be able to tell that clear story. And CMOs, marketing leaders out there, you need to develop, and we've been talking about this as marketers for a decade now, but that ability to build a relationship with the executive team at a company, with the CEO, so they understand marketing's role. And this is where we could have a whole other conversation about what is marketing responsible for inside of an organization, because that question alone can lead certain leaders down a path of, well, I think they're in charge of not only awareness and drumming up interest and bringing in leads, but also converting on all of that and handing a lot of this new business over on a silver platter. Other organizations are saying, well, wait, this is where we see marketing playing a role. This is where we see other departments, other key functions and areas of the business coming in to support that process from prospect to new client. And so I think having that understanding, having that solid relationship with your leadership team and them understanding how you're going to come to the table to provide value as a marketer is
most important.
Invaluable.
Yep, for sure. Okay, it's about that time. Those of you who are just tuning in, This podcast was built on the idea that we learn better from our mistakes than from our wins. I'm a firm believer in tripping sometimes so that you can learn from it. So we have had awesome people all across the industry jump on and tell us the hard lessons they've learned. Yeah. So Joe, what are we not doing today? Everybody at my team makes fun of me for saying that. What are we not doing today? But I love it.
It can be misinterpreted too, because it can be seen as, what are we not doing today?
Now he's telling me my message isn't clear.
Yeah. Actually, I love it because we don't talk enough about this in the industry. There's so many ideas of what you can do that there's oftentimes so much room in an organization to talk about what to stop doing.
Yes.
And that alone, you could make that an entire 12-month strategy for a great strategy for a firm to stop doing, what to kick, and it will only contribute to your growth.
So I just want to jump in there for 1 second. So Tina, our other partner, and I looked at each other one day last year and we're like, we're going to stop doing stupid shit this year. And here's the list of stupid shit things we're not going to do anymore. Yeah. So that was also a little bit of, she's over there shaking her head. It's really true. It's really true. It is totally important to have that list. So that was also part of the inspiration for this whole.
Yeah. Well, it kind of comes down to one thing that I have had on my mind. And this is something that I have learned through working specifically with Kelly. And just even in the last year that I've been here is don't knock on the door without a key. And to me, that means don't come to the table when you have an issue or a problem without offering some sort of solution in its place or some way of figuring out how you're going to help circumnavigate the situation that you're bringing to the table. And you and I are faced with challenges each and every day. So we always look for people who are part of the team who can not only help identify the issue, that's step number one, but if you don't have a key to open the door for that solution, or at least for a direction that you can take in order to address whatever it is that's coming to the table, you're not doing a whole lot of good as a team member. Hell, you could apply this to being a good spouse, to being a good friend.
Yep.
It can be damaging to any relationship at work or at home if you are just
serving up the problems.
Yeah, serve up the problems. You drop them there. You might feel better because you feel like you've dropped them on someone else and now it's their issue to solve. But it actually doesn't contribute to the long-term success of that relationship or that company, whatever it might be. So don't knock without the key.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. We talk about this a lot. I think, and this goes to the hiring discussion that we just had. It's like, we want people who are going to be like, hey, this isn't working, but this is what we're going to do. I think about Zoe Ray on our team. Shout out, Zoe. Love you. She's tough on me, which I love, because she's like, hey, this process, I don't like it, and this is what we need to do instead. And we're going to connect this technology to this technology, and they're going to speak better together. And then we're going to have the team do this process instead, and it's going to take us half the time. I'm like, go, do it. Come on. Perfect.
Yeah. And that's a person that adds value each and every day to what you're trying to accomplish. And I've been guilty of this, by the way. I mean, I learned this at previous jobs. I've learned it here. It is so easy to forget this one as you enter into that day and somebody throws something at you or you're trying to help someone solve an issue. It is so easy to just say, well, I need to pull in other people and they need to help me figure out what the solution is to this problem. Because it takes a lot of time, energy. There's a lot of things technology can do for us nowadays. This is not one of them, or at least it can be used in a way to help you get to the solution, but you have to really apply yourself every day. And that's something I made a mistake on so many times throughout my career is I found myself facing a problem and I just threw it on the table. And I'd have other people blankly staring back at me and saying like, well, Joe, what are we going to do about this? If you're the one bringing that problem to the table, how are we going to address it? And that's never a good way to show up in a room, because not only are you dragging the energy out of the room with whatever you're deciding to put on the table, but you can't give them any direction on how they will be used to help come to a solution.
Yeah, and I think to be clear, when we talk about this too, like the expectation is not that people are not going to bring problems and that you're not going to collaborate to solve them. Like that's all very real and that's very needed, and all good companies do that all day long. Yep. But I think we look for the people and we like give each other a wink every time it's like, hey, figure this out. And I'm like, okay, well, that person knows that my to-do list is like more than the hours in a day today. And they want to pile that on versus the person who's like I said, hey, Kel, hey, Joe, like, this is what's happening. This is how I think we should address it. If you have better ideas or alternative ideas, toss them in. But this is what I'm going to do unless you tell me otherwise. Like, God, you got to look for those people. Like, go through your team and think about, like, who are the people that are throwing you grenades and who are the people that are,
get that
the wind at your back,
helping you through the gauntlet a little bit, because yes, you have to be seen as somebody who is coming into the team to help figure out a solution to that problem. But I agree, you have to get people around you who are almost motivated by those grenades that are thrown in front of them, and this is where intrinsic motivation comes in. If you have those grenades thrown at a person day in and day out, and they're not motivated to do the work that they really feel strongly about, they will get discouraged, they will bow out, and they will leave your team within a very short period of time, because you need to find something deeper in yourself in order to decide, like, I actually love the challenges that are coming up in front of me, and I love figuring out a way to solve this as a team.
Yeah. Leave it to the messaging guy to call it, don't come to the door without a key.
Don't knock on the door without a key. We all can knock on the door. We all can say, hey, I got an issue here.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to answer and solve this for me? But you got to have the key to open it yourself.
Yeah, it's very true. Okay, so for those of you who joined us today, I got to sit down with my friend and partner, Joe Steuter. This has been an awesome experience. We get to be here face to face and I know. It's a real love here. And we covered a lot of topics, and I'm really excited about his don't do that, because I think we can all learn from that. And like he said, it's like work and life. You don't come to your spouse with just problems to solve either. All you men out there, I think you might need a reminder of that sometimes.
Like I said, I've learned on both sides of my life, so.
All good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just gonna close with this. We say all the time and intentionally that we're trying to build the company that we wish we worked for, right? Because it's really hard. It's really hard. I feel like that's the thing. Like, social media everybody's like, you're going so fast and it looks so, it's like, yeah, if we're good at marketing, that's of course what it's going to look like, guys. But like, this is real and it's hard. And I spend a lot of time talking to entrepreneurs all across our space. We kind of have a little support group that's forming, I think. About what it is to serve financial advisors and financial services firms and what that looks like and how hard it is. And I want you to leave our listeners with some inspo on sort of building and growth and like what it takes, and why not to get discouraged when it's hard.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've learned in life, we were talking about me growing up on a farm, the biggest lesson I had learned from 10 to 18 growing up is that the hard things are the things that you remember and that matter. And if this was easy, and if we were just able to plug in this formula, work with companies that only had one way to go, which was up, never faced any obstacles along the way, I think we'd look back on this and we'd say, oh yeah, it was fun, but was it meaningful? Did it bring anybody closer together? Did you learn anything from it as a human? And to me, I think if you don't philosophically align with somebody, this is where I think Kelly and I have so much in common, is I think we see the benefit from helping people through those challenges, and what we see from looking back, hindsight is always 20/20, of course, but I've found a way in my life to appreciate that the struggle is where some of the biggest lessons in life come. The challenge, those moments where somebody is really faced with something they need to resolve, and you can be a part of getting them on the other side of this, is rewarding work.
Yep.
And I want to be able to, not to get too deep, but I want to be able to get to the end of my life and say that I was part of something special that was helping someone or a number of people solve it. And I was working around people who really believed in what they were doing as much as I did.
Growth isn't a straight line, guys, and building businesses aren't straight lines, and it's messy, and sometimes it's ugly, and it's hard, and it's sticky, and you want to yell at your marketing partner a lot sometimes. Don't do that. That's a whole other episode. But growth isn't a straight line. Just keep that in mind. It's about, doing the
hard stuff.
Yeah, and doing it consistently. All right, homie. This has been fun. I love you. Thanks for watching us. We'll be back.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to be notified when new episodes become available. And please consider giving us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. This podcast is sponsored by Intentionally, a financial services growth engine design consultancy and agency. If you want to learn more, please email me at kelly@growintentionally.com. Thank you again for listening, and check back to hear what we're not doing next.